On this episode of the Launchpad Podcast. I'm telling you, dude, like an hour and a half later, I was laid out on my couch feeling like the biggest fucking loser. Dude, it was like a Tuesday. At this point, it's like 10:45. Yeah. And how do you protect yourself from them? Is it garlic?
From magicians?
Yes.
Fists.
Fists.
Yeah, you have plans to see the Barbie movie?
No, but you look like you're dressed up to go see it right now. I'm definitely not talking about the Communist Party of China.
Oh God.
No, dude. I would never. But yeah. How do you feel about that?
About global politics?
Yes, dude. Let's talk about politics, dog.
You wanna know how I feel about global politics?
Please, dude, enlighten us.
Merging with simulator in 3, 2, 1.
I do like me, and I haven't had any edibles in ages.
Edibles are a monster, man. I told you about my last edible experience.
Go into that.
Okay, so my last edible experience, man. It was like the middle of the week. You know, I was working my corporate job, as you know, that I did not like. And it was like a Tuesday, dude, and dropped my son off at school, and I just could not make myself go to work that day. I just did not have it in me. And so I called in sick, you know, just like, hey, I'm going to work from home. Like, I'm sick.
Yep.
And I got home. I got a workout in and stuff, was like clean up my house a bit, like trying to be somewhat productive. And then afterwards, I was like, I just did not feel like doing anything. And so I was like, I'm going to get spun out. And I ate a glob of the last bit of the HAC distillate I have. I think I smeared it onto one of those carb killer tortilla wraps, you know what I'm saying? With like some honey or some shit. But it tasted so bad. It was like stuck in my teeth, in my mouth, and I'm like sucking it out of there. Yeah, dude, it was bad. But anyways, I'm telling you, dude, like an hour and a half later, I was laid out on my couch feeling like the biggest fucking loser. Dude, it was like a Tuesday. At this point, it's like 10:45, and I am so high, that I felt like I physically could not get off this damn couch. And on top of that, you know, I just, I think it is important to have these, you know, to take a break and to sit back and to, you know, do fun stuff with yourself and to enjoy yourself. I think that's important, you know, and there's always a balance to that. But in that day, I did not find balance eating that giant dose of edibles. It was not where I needed to be mentally, dude. And it was the first time in my life I'd had a bad experience with edibles. It wasn't like a freak out or anything. It was just this feeling of just feeling disgusted with myself and feeling like a loser. And I was so high, dude, that I went to bed at 5:30, 6:30, something like that, super early. Slept until the next day, and I woke up. I was still high, and you know, awesome. I had to go into the office, just still high,
feeling awful,
and I felt like a weird weed hangover / withdrawal, dude. You know what I mean? Because I had gotten this sharp, very high dose. And then I was on riding this come down the whole next day. And it was this very depressive, foggy state that I didn't like, honestly, man. And I know a lot of people like taking weed edibles, and they, you know, approach it from a lot different perspective than I did that day. And they can, you know, it can be ceremony. You know what I'm saying? For some people, taking weed edibles, right? With the, you know, pointing themselves that way. But taking a weed edible at that high of a dose, man, it just became this overwhelming body load, grossness, and it almost felt like that green out. Have you ever greened out on weed?
I have. Yeah, definitely.
It was like the green out effect, man. It was just I don't know if I could get as far with this tool personally as I could with something like psilocybin.
I have a fun edible story for.
Go ahead.
I made brownies once upon a time, and you know, I had just this big fucking thing of brownies.
Yeah.
And they're nice and strong and all that, and I realized, you know, I had a flight to catch, and it was, should I bring them all on the plane?
Yeah.
And I realized, no, I probably shouldn't try to, take all of these brownies with me. But I'm already at the airport.
So you ate them.
So I ate this full batch of. I'm standing in front of the airport in the car drop-off area, just shoveling brownies into my mouth near a trash can. Just absolutely gobbling them down. I ate like 2/3 of them. It was like, done.
Yeah, you can just taste the weed in your mouth.
Yeah, just like, I feel disgusting.
So what happened to you?
I got on the plane and it was a wonderful flight. It was absolutely fantastic.
I'm glad you had a good time.
That takeoff was just primed and good to go. We flew up there. I mean, we had turbulence once or twice, but I was just laid out.
Did you know that effect of like looking out an airplane window and you're like, the world's so weird and kind of like big and small at the same time?
Little ants, cars look like ants and stuff. Oh, it's so cool.
Ant cars. I bet. Was that amplified by the
Very
animals?
much. Very much.
That's sick, dude.
It's beautiful scenery and atmosphere.
Dude, so Josh and I, we went to both of our first music festival this summer. It was Bonnaroo 2023. It was absolutely electric, life-changing.
As you can
beautiful.
see, it's completely changed our entire personas.
Yes, we have really upgraded a level. No,
Do you feel more enlightened? I feel more enlightened.
Oh, yeah, man. I didn't even know that was possible. But
I know. I didn't either, but here we are.
Yeah, no, dude, but it is, like, legitimately, man, like, it changed, I think, both of our lives. Like, one of the things that definitely changed about me, like, instantly is I had no idea that, like, I had this insane passion and love for, like, electronic music like that. Because I had heard it before, and I didn't dislike it, but I was always into, like, rap, trap, hip-hop. That was my thing.
Yeah.
And the electronic stuff, I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't, like, get down to it the same way. I couldn't feel it the same way.
Yeah.
And then being at Bonnaroo and, like, being with the people in that spirit, because, like, when you come together for something like Bonnaroo, there's this kind of, like, unspoken mutual agreement between, like, everybody that we're bringing our A game. It's going to be fun.
We're going to have a good time.
It's a religious
I want to have a good time.
It's a religious experience, dude. And, like, feeling those, like, hurts travel through your body or whatever it is when them speakers are vibrating like that and everyone is just in this ecstatic experience.
It feels like a literal wave of energy flowing through you. It's naturally incredible.
Right, dude. And it's funny how I can see how from, like, an outsider's perspective, it's this totally, like, stupid, degenerate thing, But then when you actually, like, allow yourself to fully, like, dissolve into it and be a part of it and experience it for what it is, at least in my experience that I had at that Grizz set Friday night on 2C, dude, I just, like, I felt like it was this other level, this different type of mystical religious experience that I hadn't had yet. And I, obviously, like, I've taken a slew of, psychedelic drugs over the course of my life. And, yeah.
Mystic things. Mystic chemicals. Yeah, it was a magical experience. Grizz was amazing. Subtronics was amazing. Liquid Stranger was amazing. Elephant Heart was amazing. I want to shout out to Elephant Heart.
Yes, shout out to Elephant Heart. Bonnaroo of 23, Elephant Heart was definitely, like, the most underrated set. From my frame of reference, they were. I had been waiting on their set since, like, what? We started listening to their music back in, like, November or something, dude. We were,
They were one of the first ones that we were just like, all right, let's see who's on the list.
Yeah, and then we heard The Digital. And I was like, dude. And then Love Is a Weapon with that, like, Indian tribal psytrance. Man, their vibe is, like, on point. And I love the fact that they're, like, a family unit. And they got these kids. And they're just, like...
They're going for it.
Yeah, dude. I really want.
It is beautiful. They're fun. They are a fun band.
Yes, their visuals matched with their energy and their music was absolutely phenomenal.
She was very engaging on stage, and so was he. Yes,
I absolutely would love to see them headlining someday, and like I will get you tatted on my body if you headline at Bonnaroo.
Odessa's performance was stunning.
Yeah,
absolutely stunning.
He's coming to Nashville here in a couple weeks. So, September 15th. Josh isn't going to be able to go because he's got his sister's wedding, you know.
You got to make sacrifices. Sorry, sis.
But I'm going to get to go more than likely, and I really look forward to seeing Odessa, man. But
I hope you have the time of your life. I hope it's the best concert of all time.
Oh, it's going to be, man. I'm going to send you Snapchats all night. I'm just going to be blowing you up while you're in a suit watching your sister kiss that dude.
I'm going to be crying.
One thing me and Josh have both been talking about a lot since we came back from Bonnaroo is like, man, like, what does it take to become an EDM artist? Because, like, can you imagine that career?
That's what
there's definitely downsides. Let's be honest. Like, there's got to be some downsides that the general public is not usually aware of, and it's probably glorified. But
yeah, it's got to be awful being up on stage and meeting 10,000 people in the most life-changing night of their lives.
No, dude,
it's got to be horrible.
No, I'm not saying that, but there's probably, some like bullshit with record label companies.
Oh, I'm sure. And I know that there's shit about like if you don't do your times properly, you get fined for overstaying your stage.
Yeah. They'll do it. They'll like fine you a heavy amount, like $1,000 a minute and shit like that.
And big artists can just be like,
"Fuck you,
GTFO, I'm staying."
Yeah, it's kind of like video editing or something like that, like this YouTube and. Learning which software, learning the little different things about a software.
Learning all the modules to get the different sounds that you want out of things.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a really fun journey.
Oh,
but it is a time thing.
Yeah. And it's like... Part of my inspiration for that, man, has been these artists like Parangi and Liquid Bloom... and Drum Spider, and these Shaman's Dream. There's been many times within ceremony where their music has like, it's been like my shaman, dude. It's turned my speakers into a shaman and helped like guide me and help this sort of story unfold with the help of the mushroom. And it's crazy the effect that music has on you, on a person just by itself. But then when you add the fact that like you're in that vulnerable, like psychedelic state.
A nice guidance is pretty helpful. You know that thing that everybody does for a long time where they just Google trippiest thing on the internet?
Trippy visuals.
And it comes with that one Nights in White Satin song with like the crazy video.
Yeah, you showed me that.
Yeah, that's like the thing that always pops up. But the Mind Melds.
Hey, people don't know what we're talking about. The artist Liquid Bloom, if you look on YouTube, search on YouTube, Liquid Bloom Mind Meld, there's these few hour long sets that he has, virtual sets with these visuals that will absolutely, if you're like within, your journey.
They're mind-bending visuals. They are incredible.
Yeah, it's absolutely a fantastic pairing and synergy with the psychedelic headspace. For sure. And me and Josh watched, I think it was like Mind Meld 3 or 4. That one time we took the LSD. And we turned it on to have like some good background music because it's beautiful music by itself. And then we started watching these visuals and realized it was like this 4-hour long thing. And so we just sat down and watched it from beginning to end. And dude, like by the end of it, like I had like teared up multiple times.
We did pause it at one point. Because we were like, we got to take a minute.
It got intense, man.
It was incredible.
Yeah, and it's honestly what it is it's inspiring from like a creator standpoint in terms of like something that you can create like that in the world.
It has a mystical aspect to it. It's not just like trippy like music visual thing. It actually unfolds in all sorts of different things that hit on deep architecture in your mind.
Yeah. It's layers, man. There's so many layers to it, and every time you listen to it, you pick up different things. You go on a different journey, kind of like the Midnight Gospel, dude. Every time I watch the Midnight Gospel, you're picking up on different things and going on this kind of like slightly different journey with it and honing in on different aspects.
Do you think Carl Jung would have liked acid? He's got a weird hand in mysticism, actually.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty solid weird hand in mysticism.
Right.
And I've always found that interesting because it really could. He has one of the few like published document systems that sort of describe some of the mystical processes like the dark night of the soul, shadow work, all that kind of stuff. He actually does frame those sorts of things in these are the subconscious archetypes. These are the things that make up who you are, and this is like how you process and deal with those things.
Yeah.
I find that very interesting, but I would also be very interested to see like where he would take it with high doses of psychedelics. Yeah.
Well, and who's to say that wherever that came from didn't come from a similar place? Like, like people, these yogis who've been meditating for 17 years and are on 17 days of fasting and have been meditating for 38 days. And you know what I'm saying? Like they talk about visiting the lesser lights in the Bardo, and it's like these people obviously, and this has been repeated in other people too, is that they can enter mystical states just by purely like changing their like body and how they're breathing and slipping into these different brainwave states. And there's a lot of different ways to reach a psychedelic space. I will say though, I've never reached a space like that by itself with like meditation or something. I've combined meditation with psychedelics and entered crazy spaces, but I don't know. I'm sure that maybe one day the smile will be wiped off my face, but I don't know if I believe that you can get to like the same depths with something like meditation as you can with like just a to the face DMT hit or something like that.
Oh, the Ram Dass story.
Tell me.
About
which one?
About the monk that they took acid to.
Tell me.
Okay, so
I think I have heard this.
He and his boys were going on a little spirit journey, and they brought acid with them because they thought it'd be fun to give it to a monk.
Yeah.
And the monk took it, and he just sat there and smiled, and just
he wasn't even high, like he wasn't even tripping.
He was in absolute and total control of his mind space.
Yeah, dude. That's really...
that means that he can shift it to whatever he wants at will.
I think Ram Dass might have been one to say something like, I don't understand why you guys have to do drugs and stuff. Like, I can just get high I can just get high right now. It was either him or one of these other yogis.
I enjoyed his stuff. It
becomes like, man, is that the path that like I need to go? Like, with these different messages I've gotten from DMT about like, it's funny how you do a drug and this message you get is like, hey, stop doing so many drugs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
And like, I've gotten that message a couple times, dude.
Have you?
And, yeah, and what times in my life those were, and there were some rough times, but it's like, if that really is a reality that you can live in, where I can wake up and breathe a certain way to like enter into this headspace, man, like maybe that's like the path I need to like go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love being able to slip into alternate states of like consciousness. I think they're very valuable. I really do when they're used right. You know what I'm saying? And we can talk about that endlessly, and we already have. But I think there's something very healthy and cool to the idea of being able to like change yourself like that, but not have to throw like your neurotransmitters out of whack, or have to have like your liver, like process some extra metabolites, or like throw your sleep architecture out of whack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like truly living in this sort of like homeostasis. It's just like it, but also like I wonder like is it the same? Is it the same? And I don't think I would ever want to live a life where I was fully sober, in terms of like I didn't interact with something at different periods. Like I think that wouldn't be expressing myself in the fullest in this universe. You know what I'm saying?
I can understand that.
Yeah. And I respect people who go fully sober because they know it's the path that they need to walk. you know, those people who are like 16 years sober. I'm gonna fucking stay that way. I have to for like my family's sake. Dude, I respect the fucking hell out of it. For that, I'll support you any way I can. But like, that's not the path I think I'm gonna walk. You know, especially with like the, you know, I've made all these fucking videos. The level, like the experiences I've had with DMT, you know, that it's like going to church, dude. And so like, what is that like? Am I gonna stop going to church? No. I mean, like, but it's funny because it's not this like scheduled thing like with churches. Churches say every Sunday. I mean, maybe some people. I'm sure there's definitely a lot of people who are like, every Sunday I do DMT. It's DMT Sundays.
Oh god.
I bet they're you know, some interesting people, but you know, DMT for me is like this total intuitive feeling of like I can't really plan it out when I'm gonna do it. It's just this in the moment.
I don't think you should.
The right time. Yeah.
I don't think you. Well, I mean, obviously set and setting and all that kind of good stuff, but I don't think you really should have to set that as like, I must do this many times.
Yeah.
This often. Realistically, I see it all as just they're tools.
Yeah.
You don't change your oil every week. You change it when it's getting crusty.
Yeah, man.
I see it very much like taking care of a car. But I want to jump back for a second to when we were talking about fasting and Bonnaroo. And I want to talk about what we ate at Bonnaroo.
Okay. Please talk about it.
So one of the fun things about it was we ate so little food that it was just peanut butter and honey tortilla wraps and oranges.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah, dude, Olivia saved our lives that one night. I hadn't eaten all day. She brought me that orange, and I'd stayed, you know, hydrated and stuff, but yeah, man. One thing that I thought of, I've talked about how I feel like sometimes the psychedelic community is becoming somewhat like a bit dogmatic. Some tribes are in terms of like the way that they talk about the medicine, like they you know, it has to be done a certain way. And where I clash with that is it's like I've had these recreational experiences that have been just as spiritual and enriching and life-changing as some of my most, you know, like religious, mystical type of experiences, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's this like blur of those, you know. It's like if I'm having this, like for instance, like me and this dude right here, we've had a couple of days where we've gone out on hikes and taken mushrooms and had like, there's been 2 trips in particular, and you know which ones I'm talking about, that have been just absolutely spectacular and some of the best days of our entire life. And all we've done is just walk in the woods, tripping a little bit, having a blast, connecting with one another, bonding, you know what I mean, like brothers, dude, and like
feeling the sun.
Yes, and feeling just alive and like so in the moment, man, and just like it was, both those trips were life-changing for like both of us, man. And you can't tell me you can never tell me that wasn't like a religious, spiritual experience for me those days. It totally was, but it was done in like what other people might classify as recreation, because I wasn't lotus positioning, breathing at the 8-10 rhythm, and banging the drums and having someone fucking wave a feather in my face. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, I think most of like people who interact with these things,
ritualized.
I think
it's a ritualized experience.
Yeah.
Like, imagine, if you will, that it's just a blueprint for a certain kind of mystical experience. Rather than just saying, this is how you get a mystical experience, it's more like, hey, you can get a mystical experience. This is how you funnel it into some specific avenue that you're looking towards.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the mysticism part of it.
Right.
I like to sit and chant lotus position.
I do too. That is fun, man. That is fun. Dude, okay, so I've told you about, in my last solo cast, I talked a little bit about the potential return of MXE that I'd seen rumored on these these Reddit forums and stuff. And for people who don't know, MXE stands for methoxetamine. It is a dissociative drug that was very popular about a decade to a decade and a half ago because there was this brief window where these things called research chemicals, these compounds that existed in this gray area of the legal market, they could be sold legally on the clear net and shipped to your doorstep at a very good price. Anyways, MXE was this dissociative drug, meaning that it was similar to ketamine, but a lot of people said that it was better than ketamine. MXE was very popular. A lot of people hold it in this regard as this very special compound in their hearts and their lives, and the experiences they had with it. But it has been pretty much completely off the market since it was made illegal, about 10 years ago or so, almost across the board in every country. And so it's been very hard to come by. It has still been available, but it's mainly been in these small pockets on dark web markets, these onion sites, and it'd be very expensive.
It's expensive. It's banned by China. They can't produce it.
Well, but I saw a couple weeks ago that it was rumored that it was coming back, and there was a good amount available, and it was a better price, and some people were skeptical. And people brought up the point that there's always been these small custom synth batches.
I'd be skeptical still.
Yeah, but there's been many different users giving these reports now over the past couple weeks and saying that they've gotten it in. This one dude tried it. He sent his sample off to get tested, but before he got the results back, he tried it and put out a trip report. And he had tried MXE back in the day before it got banned and all that, and has done ketamine and all that. And he was like, in his report, he was like, this definitely feels like the MXE that I remember. He was like, and it's very, it's very potent and all this stuff. What he bought it for is $150 a gram, right? So since it's been banned, it's usually been $300-400 a gram, and even then it's cut heavily. But he's getting $150 a gram. Hopefully it's some pure stuff. We'll find out with the lab results when those come back. Whenever those come back, I'm definitely update the channel on the next podcast or something about that, because I think it's cool as fuck. But yeah, so the reason why I bring that up, dude, is because I know you said that you did MXE back in the day. You did it a few times, and I just want to I want you to talk about that.
I did it a little bit, and it had some very weird experiences that tied along with it.
You've also done ketamine, and you've also done FXE, and you've also done DXM, so you've done a few other dissociatives to be able to have something to kind of base it, compare it to, and you know what I mean? So how was it different?
It was just from any of the other things. I've never been a dissociative guy. It's tried it, enjoy it a little bit, but it's just not something I go out of my way to do.
Yeah, you don't gravitate towards it.
Not at all.
But you're not at war with it either. You're not against it. Yeah, you'll interact with it.
I think it has mental health benefits for people.
It can also have
terrible side effects, and I think FXE does not. I don't think FXE has any real. I never got anything like that from it. I don't know if I needed it. The
antidepressant effect?
Antidepressant, uplifting, afterglow.
I don't know if I agree with that, because I always have almost the same way I have with ketamine, and I think it's simply because of it, it also modulates those NMDA receptors in a similar way. They theorize it does because of its molecular structure related to something like ketamine, and also because of the subjective effects that are extremely similar to ketamine. So you can kind of safely bet that it is one of these NMDA antagonists, in which they I don't know if they've proven this or not though yet. If they've proven or they theorize that the NMDA antagonization is the sort of mechanism for the antidepressant effect.
Interesting.
So, if that was the case, that it is, then definitely FXE holds the potential to hold the same antidepressant effect that ketamine would. People talk about the afterglow of DXM, dude.
Never got into DXM. never ever.
If people don't know what we're talking like Robitussin, you know.
Tried it 1 or 2 nights.
Yeah.
And it was okay, but I was like, I don't feel good.
Dextromethorphan. Yeah. Interesting compound. It's led people to a lot of scary places.
Yeah.
But some people have
Don't
had
go to the 4th plateau.
Dude, is it the 4th or the 5th? It's
I don't know.
It's like the
Just
3rd
don't
of the.
go out there.
It's like the 3rd is like the very high one, very psychedelic, trippy, and then it's like that's a great one. Don't go to the 4th plateau; that'll kill you. And this is like the dosage range of DXM. But yeah, man, DXM is a weird one, man. It is people also have reported having very like positive, life changing, even spiritual experiences with
looking
DXM.
back, MXE did probably have a little bit of a DXM slant to it.
In what way?
Time skipping.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely got that effect with DXM. It was like I was teleporting to different rooms.
With the MXE, it was like time was shuffled. And I remember the stints of what I was doing, but they like kind of seemed to play out of order in a weird way.
Yeah.
Very unsettling, but it wasn't a bad experience by any means. Just very off.
Yeah.
And it did not take very much.
Yeah. That's what I heard is pretty potent, but yeah, man, I would love to try it, you know, like I think dissociatives are fascinating. I think that one thing I really want to make a video about, I should make a video about like the addiction potential of dissociatives.
Yeah.
Because they're being pushed so heavily, even by mainstream, dude, in terms of their antidepressant effect. And I think that's wonderful because
it's going to get bad.
But there will be people who are super dependent on it and then turn to like black market resources and start taking like, you know, like half grams a day. Next thing you know, their bladder's shutting down and they're like, and when they have to stop, their brain is like, okay, because one thing that's interesting about these dissociative drugs, man, is their tolerance, the way it works, right? It's like it takes a while for you to develop a tolerance to them. You can consecutively dose if you wanted to, theoretically, for like weeks on end. But you will get to a point after binging for a certain period of time where you have a super high tolerance and you can't enter the super psychedelic states anymore. And people claim to have these permatolerances. There's this one... Yeah, man.
That's actually hilarious.
There was this one guy on Reddit, and again, it's Reddit, so it's like maybe
like the little punishment whip. It's just like bad.
Yeah, you can never.
Did it bad.
But dude, like this one guy, he was like, yeah, back in like he said like the 90s or something. He was really into ket, and his friend groups like did ket, and they banged it all the time, dog. Like I say bang, they didn't bang it. They they insufflated it, but they were just doing a lot of ket and like binged on it. And he said that he stopped because like him and his friend group like stopped doing ket. It wasn't their like drug of choice anymore, whatever. And then here in these recent years, with these ketamine clinics becoming available legally, and the sort of media push and the awareness that hey, this might be good for people with depression. This could be a helpful tool if used right. And so this guy was like, all right, so I decided like I'm gonna go back and revisit ketamine after like 20 something years of having like not having done it. And he was like, they gave me a high dose, and like there's some way that they test which kind of dose they need to give to you, like the flood dose. You know what I mean? They do something with like how they get you the right dose, get you where you need to be. They titrate it in some way, and he was like, they had to give me this insanely high dose, and like it didn't even work all the way. Like I didn't really K-hole. So like this is like 20 something years. So anyway, there's this permatolerance effect to the dissociative drugs, and so like if you think about it. The fact that, like, if that's true, 20-something years later, your brain is still changed in this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That has to me, kind of scary implications, man.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it for that.
Right. And you hear nightmare stories about people who are addicted to dissociatives and can't seem to get off of them, and just, like... I can see how it becomes addictive, too, man. Because think about it. It's an extremely... pleasurable feeling of just like everything's gonna be okay, and it does get very psychedelic as you ramp things up, but it's even with the psychedelia, it's paired with that like just tranquilizing effect. What you think about it, that's what it's used for in like medicine, anesthesia and as an anesthetic, but it just has that effect of like I can see how somebody could use it to like blur their world out and blur out all of their problems.
It is a double-edged sword.
I think that needs to be talked about more. And maybe it is. Maybe like that you go into a ketamine clinic and they're like, hey, this is super important. You need to understand this. I hope that's that way.
So it's kind of like the perma effect of the dissociatives is also comparable to the one blowback of psychedelics, and that's HPPD.
Dude, okay, HPPD is an interesting phenomenon because I've definitely, I made the video about my experience with HPPD, but I don't know what, maybe that's not the right word for it because it was like a 2 to 3 month experience thing that I had where I was definitely in a changed sort of slightly psychosis type of mind following a very, heavy dose of psychedelics and binging on psychedelics in general just over a long period of time and just entered into this mind space of when I was sober. It was like I was slightly tripping kind of, but then I just didn't take psychedelics and after 2 or 3 months it went away. But I've been following, these different forums and different people who talk about HPPD because it's not something that's recognized by like modern medicine.
No, it's not.
No, for people who don't know, it stands for hallucinatory persisting perception disorder, and essentially it's not that. Okay, so it's essentially like you took a psychedelic drug and after the fact, even after you should have sobered up, you still have some of the effects. Like you can get brightness of colors,
visual snow.
Visual snow is a big one that a lot of people report. A sort of general sense of like dissociating from your life, and like they call it derealization. And depersonalization, like you have a hard time
maintaining an ego.
Yeah, and it was a very interesting time in my life, and that's why I wanted to make a video about it. And the reason why I called it HPPD is because I had seen like other videos on YouTube, people talking about their HPPD, and I was like, is this sort of what I'm going through? Because whenever I started going through it, I started Googling it, and I came across like Reddit and YouTube and just other anecdotal reports, but there was no sort of like literature about it. You know what I mean? So it was all I had was these sort of anecdotal things to go off.
It's all anecdotal.
Right, and I think there is something too. There is a few trends that are being noticed within the HPPD space that I think need to be talked about, and that is young people doing psychedelics, developing brains, also very high doses of LSD for whatever reason. Because you know how LSD has that sort of like its binding to that serotonin receptor, the 5-HT2A.
Yep.
Its binding to it has a hard time like unbinding, I think, and that's why it takes so long. Like, LSD trip can be like fucking like 20 hours if you want it to be. It'd be fucking 36 hours if you take enough. So it has this like hard time unbinding, and there's something with that, and also within like having a bad experience, like within having a heavy LSD experience, having a very negative sort of traumatic experience on top of that seems to often trigger HPPD episodes. You know what I mean?
I think it just triggers something like whenever your subconscious is kind of flooding up to the surface. Yeah. If you like crack something down there, it can cause problems that like feed into your everyday life. Yeah, that's why I'm a big proponent of, like, if you're gonna do that sort of stuff, do it safely. Don't go overboard. There's no reason to go overboard. If you are gonna go overboard, make absolutely sure you're doing it safely.
This isn't a psychedelic pissing match. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to. But like, I also think there is something to be said about like if you feel called to and want to do large doses, experiment with that. Be very safe about that. It's like, think about why you want to go there.
Dose and clinging to a tree in a thunderstorm.
Paul Stamets, shout out to you, dog. Hey, didn't that cure his like his stuttering? He had a very bad stutter. Like it was like a social. It was like affecting his life, man, his relationships with people, and he couldn't connect and he couldn't fit in and stuff. And then he had this insane mushroom trip with the lightning striking, hanging to a tree. Took like 20 grams or a whole ounce or something, dog. Like, it was his first mushroom trip too, man. Bro, Paul Stamets was like, for that alone, bro, like.
No wonder he's a mushroom king.
Oh, dog, he's a mushroom daddy. Paul Stamets, He carries himself like a mushroom, very much like, I'm part of the team. I'm here for you guys. I'm a fortune. Spreading out his little messages and his little notes. And it's funny, but he also has a lot of controversy around him.
Yeah, he does.
What is it? Is it something to do with his company?
Yeah, it's just the things that he sells. Like
Gotcha.
some of his products have the grain spawn in them and stuff.
But isn't that like that in itself also controversial? Like, is that being better or worse?
Yeah. Well, it's known that the mice. So anything with a fruiting body is going to be that it is the mushroom. That's what you got, and then you're gonna have all this mycelium growing throughout whatever you're using as the base, and what a lot of those supplemental mushrooms use is like rye seeds or some kind of seed or maybe cocoa fiber stuff.
Yeah.
It's usually like some kind of wheat bran. It's got all these different things in it. And what they'll do is they'll just take that and pulverize the whole thing. So it's still got all of that dead nutrient fibrous mass, and only a little bit of actual mycelium running through it, but the mycelium has stolen all of its potency.
Gotcha.
So it's just a lot of extra mass
It's just thinning it out.
Yeah. Fruiting bodies are universally better.
Yeah. That makes sense now. Well, maybe. I don't know. Paul, you got some explaining to do. Okay? You got to come on the podcast.
Get him on the podcast.
I will fly you out here to Kentucky, Paul. We have a great... We'll get you out here during mushroom season, man. Get him out here during mushroom season. Bring him out to LBL, Land Between the Lakes.
Find some more lion's mane.
Yeah. You can take him out there to those woods where you found lion's mane.
Dude, there's not much out there.
I know.
I stole the only lion's mane.
You know what is out there in those woods.
What?
You remember what we found back there, dude.
Oh, are you talking about the Witch Grove?
Yes, dude.
Holy shit, I had forgotten about the Witch Grove.
Bro, that was nuts.
Dude, they set up booby traps.
Yeah. Fucking booby traps.
Okay, I'm like walking along and I just hear this loud pop. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? It's like right near me. I look over and I realize that I've stepped on a wire hidden in the brush and it set off a mouse trap that was nailed to a tree.
Oh my god.
And I was like, holy shit. I found like 3 or 4 more of them. I was just hunting around. I was like, what?
Okay, but what was it? The whole thing.
Okay, so this is the perimeter.
We were together, weren't we? Or did you find it before me?
I don't remember.
I think we were together when we ran up on it, dude.
Think we were too, dude.
We were with Crypto, man.
Yeah.
We were walking Crypto. Crypto's his dog. We're walking him out in the woods, like a little bit behind like this big apartment complex thing. And like, I mean, it was a wooded area, so you were, private, secure back there. There's little ponds and creeks and stuff. It's a nice place to walk your dog.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're walking back there, and there's like this, what was it, a ring of salt? An altar thing?
It was a ring of salt that was about probably 5 feet wide.
Yeah.
And then in the center it had a silver tray, and then it had like various bowls with offerings around the perimeters of it. And then it had tiki torches, and in the bowl in the center they had burned something.
Yeah.
And then put some coins in it. So I don't know what they were up to, but I will say I went out there with Crypto late at night once.
Oh.
And I saw people down there.
Was there like lights, the T-torches on fire? Yeah, you did tell me about that. I remember that, man.
I don't know what they were up to, man, but they are doing some weird stuff back there.
What was really spooky about that day that was just very odd is when we were coming out of the woods or whatever, Josh said something negative about their magic circle, their sacrificial circle, whatever it was. And he had Crypto on a leash, and Crypto's a very big dog. And right as we had stepped onto the concrete, as Josh is talking shit about their magic circle, Crypto did something that was very uncharacteristic of him, because while he is a very big dog and very powerful, he is a very well-behaved boy, and he took off from Josh for no reason, and it pulled Josh, and Josh did the splits on the concrete, like a forced splits in the exact moment as he's talking shit about their magic circle. And this dude's in pain, gets up, ow. I'm like, you all right, man? He was like, yeah. And he kind of gets out of his feelings, out of the pain as we get into his apartment. And he goes, man, he was like, I got a spooky feeling. And he was like, did you notice how I was talking shit about their circle? And Crypto did that, and he like never does that. And it was a really like funny synchronicity. But
yeah, I learned my lesson.
Yeah, man, stop shitting on the magicians, man.
Can't do it. Can't do it. They get back at you.
Yeah. How do you protect yourself from them? Is it garlic?
From magicians?
Yes.
Fists.
Fists.
Yeah, they have no striking power, so you just knock them the fuck out. They're over there like trying to weave the spell, and you're just like,
dog. Have you seen the video of the festival where like, it's an EDM festival, and this dude's got the whole wizard Gandalf get up, and everybody clears around him as the beat's about to drop. And dude, he has some like swing and light things. If I can find the video, I'm gonna put it up on screen right now. But yeah, so me and Josh found this whole new love for festivals and that whole life and the rave culture, and I can't wait to start making content.
roll the interview clip.
I'll roll the interview clip right here. Here's me on Hulu from the Bonnaroo live Hulu thing. Here you go.
DMT changed my life. DMT, it was the entity with that I met within the DMT experience.
Yeah, me and Josh cannot wait to start making more content, like around the whole festival scene and do some interview stuff and different things like that. Let us know if you think that would be fun. I think that'd be a lot of fun because that's going to be like definitely a big time hobby of mine for probably the rest of my life.
People to meet.
Yeah, it's infinite, and it's a great way to truly connect with people, which I think is beautiful, which I, love to do. I live for that. So, yeah.
Man. I can't wait to go back to Bonnaroo.
Me too. Bonnaroo 24 is going to be... It's going to be a movie.
So, I also want to talk
Literally,
about...
bro, we can make it a real movie. We can record all this shit.
I do want to talk about the bad.
The bad of Bonnaroo.
Okay, so there were three things, technically. There were three things at Bonnaroo. Number one, the sewage runoff storm.
Oh, yes. Please tell people about that, because some people got fucked.
I believe it was Campsite 2 or something.
Yeah.
It
was one of the VIPs. It's like a VIP section, dude.
Oh my god,
that makes it
even better.
Yeah.
So, the septic tank blew and it overflooded their camps with just raw sewage.
Yeah. We were like seeing like Snapchat stories, and it was bad, man. Like things on Reddit about it.
And so there was that. The other thing was, and again, please take them safely. The girl who was screaming.
Oh yeah, me and Josh got back to camp late one night, and there was this girl. How far do you think she was? Maybe like less than half a football field. Maybe like 30 yards, 40 yards away.
We were like
somewhere.
about to go to sleep.
Yeah, and jumped out of the tent. Like, this girl was having a complete blood-curdling screaming come apart, and we're pretty... We got as close as we could until this fence stopped us.
We didn't know what was happening. We just heard her screaming, and we just got over there as fast as we could.
And then we heard, like, her friends around her and stuff trying to, like, calm her down and console her and stuff. But I assume that, and I could be wrong, but I think she's probably having some sort of, like, psychotic episode on a psychedelic drug.
I saw a couple of update posts on Reddit specifically about her.
Really?
Yeah.
What did they say?
Essentially, she got taken to the EMs. And she got taken to the med tent and was basically just like tried to calm her down for a while, but she like kind of stayed freaked out, and then I think she left the next day.
God, dude, that's the thing. Like, some people like us were over here like the most beautiful experience, going back every year, and some people go and they're like, the worst thing I've ever experienced. Why would people do this? It's so hot.
And that brings me to the third negative.
You sleep on the ground.
That brings me to the third negative. And this one's actually not Bonnaroo, but this is music festivals as a whole.
Yeah.
Beyond Wonderland.
What?
Beyond Wonderland, what happened over there, I think it was at the same time as Bonnaroo. If not, it was like the next week.
Oh, man. Yes.
There was, and trigger warning if you're not feeling this kind of conversation because it's heavy, but
it's about a shooting. Yeah.
There was a soldier dude, and this is just a normal guy. He's a normal guy, but he brought his gun with him, and he and his girlfriend had some kind of like pretty severe breakup-y kind of thing. And this dude took a bunch of mushrooms.
After the breakup, I assume? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Maybe it happened during the mushroom trip.
Yeah, that's where I'm not sure.
Okay.
But he rampaged, and it was a tragic, nightmarish event.
How many people did he kill?
I think he killed one.
Who was it? Was it just a random person?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, dude.
I think a couple of people were wounded, and... he got taken down very quickly.
His life is over.
Yeah,
his life is over too. He's basically killed. Because he's either going to be, he's going to be in a prison system the rest of his life, whatever.
Minimum of several decades.
Yeah,
it is tragic, and it brings you back to be safe with the stuff. Come on,
let's clip that. That's going to be it right before the bass drop. The beat drop. Be safe with this stuff. Come on. Yeah, no, it's like, dude, I'm with you for sure. I love the community that's around it in terms of like we have the med tents set up. We all try and take care of each other, hydration.
Everybody's gonna do weird stuff,
right? But when you have 90,000 people there or something, there is gonna be fucking somebody who who can't handle their shit, as mean as that sounds, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people dive into these things,
People dive into things head first sometimes.
Right, and not that, like, I'm sure a lot of people have tried psychedelics for the first time at music festivals and been like, I'm so happy that was my first experience. I would have not traded it for any other type of first experience. But there's other people like this guy or whoever who has awful things happen to them, difficult experiences, who are like, I wish I would have never like tried that there. Maybe I wish I would have tried it at home for the first time or whatever. Because it's a very stimulating environment where you're constantly around other people and they're all on their own wavelength of drug and, or, you know what I mean? Like alcohol intoxication. And it's like, I remember the third day, if I had like theoretically, let's say, taken 3 hits of very, pure, like very well dosed LSD, 1P LSD, being in that environment was insanely stimulating in combination with that. Like I remember it took me about 3 hours theoretically to get situated into that experience, just like how long it took to ride that come up and get like comfortable in my skin again. And it like just, there was such a heavy body load on the come up. But once I was in it, man, I was in what literally felt like this fairyland playground thing, dude. Like it felt like I was truly in this video game. And you remember, you were napping back at camp while I was having this sort of come up type of super emotional experience. And I was enjoying myself, but it was this crazy range of emotions. And our buddy Hugh, he was kind of like leading me, and he was like, "Hey man, like I think I want to go back to camp for a little bit or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, that sounds great," like whatever. So I went back to camp with him, and I went to the tent and I sat down, and I've never felt this, Josh. I felt a lot of different weird emotions on psychedelics and different synesthesias and things. But I sat down our little lawn chair outside the tent, and you were just sitting there with me, just kind of like, just as the gurus like to say, hold space. You're just holding space for me, buddy. Thank you, sir, for holding that space.
Oh, that space.
Yes, dude. Phenomenal job holding that. But, no, and he really was. He was being my shaman. And I sat there in that chair, and I was sobbing, crying, while at the same time laughing at myself. And I mean the type of crying where I am like a puddle of dripping is pooling at the bottom of my chin as a steady stream is coming out of my eyes, but I'm also a smile on my face, laughing. And it felt like I felt every emotion a person can feel in that moment. Anger, jealousy, happiness, peace, confusion, like everything, dude. Like it was every emotion you could feel, and it was powerful, and it was one of the best feelings of my entire life, honestly, man.
Yeah?
It was one of the best feelings of my entire life.
Just a flood?
Yeah, and like I was talking to Josh. He was kind of turned around for a minute. I was talking to him, and he didn't know I was like doing this like smiling, laughing, crying thing, because I was just talking to him normally, and he turned around and he just sees like the tears falling off my face.
I was so surprised.
Yeah, man. And it was this like that was then again. It's like what I talked about earlier in this podcast. Like, where do you draw the line between recreation and ceremony? You know what I'm saying? Like, and because that to me was one of like the most spiritual experiences of my life. That moment, for some reason, you know.
Yeah.
There's this
a flood of all of the emotions. Of course, that would be a magnificent experience.
And then just in combination with the fact that I was at Bonnaroo, dude, with you, my best friend, and like I knew after I had that emotional just fucking explosion release there, and just I wasn't freaking out or anything, dude. I was just dumping emotions and experiencing it, and afterwards I felt like I had just dropped this weight, man. And one of the things Josh said to me, we were talking about it, and I think he was kind of onto something here, and I appreciate, you know, sort of his perspective on it and stuff. But he was like, man, if you think about it, like ever since you got arrested in 2020, he was like, dude, you've been in this like kind of like, what would you call it, fighting mode, like this survival mode, you know, because it has been this uphill
survival switch. You have to be on edge all the time, looking out for your safety.
Yeah,
the safety of you and your own.
And it wasn't until like this time in my life, right around like just graduating from college and then us going to Bonnaroo together and starting a career and all that stuff, like that I finally started to feel like not survival mode and somewhat liberated. And so like it like hit me there, I think, in a weird way, of like feeling finally kind of somewhat free, somewhat finally detached.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Gabriel. But these are the Diet Mountain Dews, so they're healthy.
No.
Yeah. And Alani News, healthy once again because they have L-theanine, which if you didn't know helps your brain produce like more GABA and shit, which can help with that sort of like cortisol spike that can happen with the mainlining caffeine. So combining those is a great thing. I love combining L-theanine legit with caffeine. Like if I drink some black coffee and then just take a couple like, or take like one like L-theanine capsule, like 100, 200 milligrams. But yeah, the paraxanthine's that one I was telling you about that was very interesting. And there's that, you know, brand out there.
Yeah, you told me a little bit about paraxanthine.
Yeah.
But I want to know more about paraxanthine.
Okay, so paraxanthine is one of those like three main metabolites within the caffeine metabolite, something like that. But paraxanthine holds a lot of the same qualities that caffeine has, except it doesn't hold some of the same negligible side effects. Like for instance, it's, you know, claimed that paraxanthine doesn't give you the same amount of like jitters, and that it doesn't affect your sleep architecture in the way that like caffeine would, and it doesn't have as long as a half-life, and some people claim that it's slightly more dopaminergic. And so you know, there's this company out there, I think they have some weird like patent on their
probably a patent on the manufacturing process, not the chemical itself.
I want to say it's like E-finity, N-finity, something like that. And there is a couple companies that have made products by, you know, buying this paraxanthine from them. And so they have the branded like N-finity paraxanthine within their products. And there's the Update energy drink. Put that up on screen. And then there is, what is it, like Workout IQ, Muscle Tech IQ, something like that, some pre-workout mix that has some paraxanthine in it. But the problem with that is it's got a bunch of other stuff. If you don't want to take that, you can't. I just want some pure paraxanthine. That's one thing.
And then they did the Barbie movie. Hey, do you have plans to see the Barbie movie?
No, but you look like you're dressed up to go see it right now. But no, dude, like, do you ever think about the influence of like the sort of psychedelic culture and people's psychedelic experiences and the people like in Hollywood and stuff who make these kids movies? And
dude, it's openly admitted that like tons of people in showbiz do all kinds of hard drugs.
Yeah,
it is a staple in that whole tabloidal lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's the same in Silicon Valley and all these other super highly creative areas.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if most kids' movies have at least one or two people who are, like, relatively active with psychotropic narcotics.
Right. No, have I ever told you about the movie The Good Dinosaur?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there's this, like, animated movie about this little dinosaur who's a part of this dinosaur family, and he leaves home, and he meets this little, feral type of caveman kid, and they become buddies and team up trying to, like, find their families. And somewhere within the movie, him and the dinosaur and this little kid who become friends and are on this journey together, they come across this tree that is bearing fruit. And so they eat this fruit together, and they go on what is very obviously a deep psychedelic trip together. Their pupils dilate, their landscape changes to, like, they're floating in the clouds and, like, going through these different worlds and flying, and then it shows them also, like, from the perspective of what they are actually doing, and they're just like flopping
around on the ground.
Yeah, and it's this implant of, if you're a kid, you don't see that as, like, drugs. You don't have that association yet until you get to a certain age.
Yeah.
But it's funny as an adult watching that with my son, and I'm over there just getting the biggest kick out of it. Can't believe I just watched that at a kids movie, and my son's just like, he thought it was funny because, like, they were making silly faces.
Yeah.
So
I absolutely believe that there's a lot of psychedelic culture coming into, like, animated shows.
You ever seen? Oh my god! Have you ever seen the episode of Rick and Morty where they have that, like, DMT trip? Have you seen that, dude?
Which was that? Probably. I don't know.
Whoa! What is happening to me? Where is this? Where am I? Am I dead? Am I still alive?
Those aren't the questions you should be asking.
Huh? Oh, God. I feel like our souls were united and we're all one with eternity.
Our bodies unchanged, yet our minds have lived 1,000 lifetimes. Is that enough time for me to forgive you?
I don't know, but it's enough time for a synaptic dampener to wear off.
He hadn't decided he was still going to kill us.
He was talking himself into it. I've seen it before. Cosmic apotheosis wears off faster than salvia.
I'm starting to believe you, because I just finished merging with your essence for an endless epoch, and I'm already back to thinking you're an asshole.
Fine with me. Let's
like morphing, merging into each other.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah.
And-
remember this now.
And at the end of it, I think it was, like, Morty who was the one who was like, "Oh my god, like, I think, like, I'm forever changed," or something. And Rick was like, says something, "Yeah, that's whatever complex, I've seen it before," And it's, dude, it was funny because, like, there is that thing in the psychedelic world of, and everyone talks about ego death, and there is just as much a possibility, depending on, like, someone's personality and intentions and influences and all sorts of different things, of, like, having a deep psychedelic experience and not only, like, boosting their ego more to, like, this unhealthy unchecked level, compared to, like, getting an ego check and a healthy
The
relationship
enlightened holier
with
than
whatever
thou
that is.
complex.
What's that?
The enlightened holier than thou complex.
Yeah, like, you know, and that's why I do think you'd be great at running a cult, man.
You know, I like to think I would be, so, you know, maybe. We'll see what the future holds. Who
Right,
knows?
you just, wherever the universe pushes you, or you decide.
Like, if I just have a plot of land and I'm like, hey, we're gonna grow crops and raise cattle and chickens, and you know what? There won't be any Kool-Aid. That'll be one of the rules. We just won't have Kool-Aid, so it's never in question.
I want you to know I'm going to have my own cult not that far away, so you guys better not, like, we'll be cool, but don't come near us.
Unfortunately,
Right? We're cool.
we're probably gonna invade your land.
I mean, dude,
It's the fun of having
that's the
cults.
thing is, like, yeah, my cult, we're going to allow weapons for that very reason. Like, individuals can have arms.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
so it's going to be hard to invade us.
My individuals can have arms and legs, so
Really? Well, there's that really big cult right down the road from us who just enslaved almost all of their population and then also militarized a large amount of it too. And they've been doing this for like a very long time.
What?
I'm definitely not talking about the Communist Party of China.
Oh God.
No, dude. I would never. But, yeah, how do you feel about that?
About global politics.
Yes, dude. Let's talk about politics, dog.
You wanna know how I feel about global politics?
Please, like, dude, enlighten us.
You wanna know how I feel about global politics?
Enlighten us, dog.
Let's start.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about money. We keep raising the debt ceiling, and we don't pay it down at all. And we keep kicking up inflation to keep up with that.
Right.
Because we keep adding more and more programs to a stack that we don't need to put any more money into.
Yeah.
At degrees of lavish, just mind-boggling amounts of money.
Yeah. And what's scary is that, I won't even say scary, is that a large amount of where our taxpayer money goes to, this very significant little portion of it, I don't even say little, but this portion of it, it's the contracts in which the way it's set up and why it's so expensive are very lucrative for the people who are providing the things, right? And you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about like in military industrial complex.
Yeah, Lockheed Martin and all that.
Right, and there's certain items, and this can be shown over and over again. We've just fallen into the system where, I forget why, but for some reason these contractors have all this leverage to be able to like what they did is they all kind of came together and unionized. These like 5 or 7 major contractors who were providing most of the weapons and things to the U.S. military, they all kind of came together, and you would think with that, it's like, all right, we'll all agree to not like hike, like price cut each other and stuff. What actually happened is they're like, we can all kind of agree to like all sell at a higher level, like everything costs more now. And so like certain items which should only cost like this amount cost like 40 times that. When we're talking about missiles that we fucking, have however many thousands of, and like it's...
I know a lot of people love being in the military and they love that lifestyle, and I think
we need a military.
is necessary.
Totally.
I also think that we've gone a bit overboard.
But can we not fix that? Even without changing anything else about the military, like changing like the accountability of like where our money is going to.
Well, there's no routine audits that are being properly performed. That was one of the few really good things that did happen during the Trump administration. Is there was a series of various government audits that were fairly important that were done, and it was basically everybody being like, we don't know where that money is.
Yeah.
It became just, what do you mean you don't know where $1 trillion is?
Right. Well, I mean, a plane ran into us. I'm sorry, but like, that's a crazy one.
That one's pretty crazy. For those that don't know, that one is the World Trade Center.
9/11.
During great tragedy, but there was also storage data on some super massive IRS fine or something.
Pentagon, right? And there was documents and things about like the money at the Pentagon, and where one of the planes hit the Pentagon is right where supposedly all this information about where we had just like sent or lost $1 trillion to, like the day before.
It was like obliterated.
It was like the day before 9/11, or very like right before 9/11. The Pentagon came out and released this public statement about this missing money, but it was overshadowed by, of course, 9/11, and that took the whole entire nation by storm, you know? And so, like, yeah, and I'm not saying, like, with any of these conspiracy theories, I remain, like, open but skeptical of them, you know? But some of them are so convincing, you know what I mean? Some of them are just so, and there's this compounding effect you have with some of them where things just get more and more kind of like mysterious and fishy. Like, dude, like Jeffrey Epstein's a perfect example. You know what I'm saying?
All right,
have you seen
get shut down?
No, dude. Have you seen the picture of the Island Boys with Jeffrey Epstein supposedly when they were kids? Dude, oh my god! I have to show you this. Okay, I'm gonna put it up on screen right now for people watching.
The weird shit the Island Boys do now.
Dude, okay, no, there's this whole conspiracy theory. I have seen the weird shit the Island Boys do. Island Boys.
I don't want to elaborate.
Jeffrey Epstein, okay? And there's this really weird video where the Island Boys were on Instagram Live or something like that. They were live somewhere talking to like a big audience of people. And they were singing this sort of melody, this sort of song. And it was like, Jeffrey boy, like, he up in heaven getting massages now, boy. Like really fucking... Dude, okay.
Oh,
this says debunked. I'll have to read into it more, but like, look at this picture. Just look at this picture, right?
Debunked. It's so weird,
dude. Crazy.
What do you think happened?
Do I think they were like... Okay, what's weird about it, though, is like they did grow up in like South Florida and stuff, bro. And they were... I think I want to say their mother... They had a lot of like...
One of them said they sold their soul.
Said they sold their soul. Their mothers... There's like a documentary about them, and their mother talks about like how, you know, problematic and stuff they were as children, and like they had, you know, obviously like, you know, personality issues, and it clashed a lot of people and clashed each other, and I don't know if they clashed each other or not, but you know, they were there in South Florida, and maybe it would explain some of the sort of like crazy, erratic, problematic behavior if you think about it. Like if they were, and it'd be awful if they were sold as like sex slaves or participated in that in any sort of way. You know what I mean? Like that would severely fuck you up, you know? And also their plug into the industry. You know what I'm saying? By having some sort of like backlog connection somewhere.
That's happened a lot.
Yeah, and I mean like...
The favor system. I mean, quite a few people. Terry Crews has come out about that.
Dude, so something I really wanted to talk to you about on this, something me and you have like kind of been walking this journey together, this path together, dude. I would say for me and you both, it kind of started like towards January, like the beginning of the year. We both sort of like really threw ourselves into this. And what I'm talking about is fasting.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
I've gotten really passionate about fasting since we started this.
And I'm happy you have, dude, because like I've literally seen it like change your life. Tell people how much fucking like weight you've lost. Dude.
So at the start, I was like around 185, and I didn't like that very much. And I've always been a little bit big for my height. But I didn't realize how much bigger I actually was than what I needed to be. So I started, you know, day fast, lose a little bit of weight. And then
like
I started
intermittent fasting?
Intermittent fasting, yeah. Wait until the evening, have one meal, good to go. And I'd eat like sizable meals. And then I did 48 hours, and then after a few of those I did a 72 hour, and then after one of those I did 114 hours, I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact point that I ended. I just remember standing in my garden staring at a leaf of lettuce and be like, I'm going to eat you.
Did you? Isn't that how you broke it?
I did. I just stood in my garden and just started eating straight from the dirt. It was amazing. It was the most phenomenal food that I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah. And it's just like, It's funny to me because I've been super interested in like the world of health and fitness for many years now, and there's many different like avenues to take there, like on your own personal like fitness journey, you know what I'm saying? And there's a whole entire lucrative industry built around it, and trainers and coaches and these influencers and all these different diets and different things, modalities that you can do to help you lose weight and stay in shape and get your lean muscle mass and feel good and optimize your body. I love it, dude. And like there's so many great tools to like have and implement and combine that'll truly change your life. But like fasting is such a funny one because it is so fucking simple and like ancient.
It's the easiest one. You just don't do anything. Like that's it.
Yeah, like
what else can you do to improve your life by not doing anything?
Well, it is and it isn't though, dude. Like for a lot of people, that cycle of like, you know, that like blood sugar spike and crash and constantly like I wake up, I need some like carbohydrates to like that glucose in my brain. People live in that cycle, and like what, you know, one of the things you were just saying is part of your path is like you started off by intermittent fasting and then broke into your more extended fast, and I think that's a great way to do it.
I think you need to on-ramp or else you rubber band really hard.
I think I actually recommended that to you because I was like, I intermittent fast every day, man. And I was like, if you can get that down, your body will be more adapted to like burning fat for energy, not needing that constant, you know, carbohydrates to fuel your brain. And
the other thing is, before you get started doing all that kind of stuff, you really do have this cultural ingrained sense of, I need to eat every day.
Yeah.
I always need to eat.
Yeah.
Breakfast is the most important thing. If I don't eat it, I'll be off all day.
Right.
Lunch is important because I've already been working so hard. Dinner is important because it's the end of the day and I'm about to go to bed and I need to make sure
I need my energy to go to bed.
I need my energy for when I wake up to eat breakfast.
Yeah.
It's like you can go a day without eating every week and be completely fine. It will not affect anything.
Depending on your body fat percentage, people can go months without eating, man. There was that one dude back in like the 1930s who went like a full year. He was severely overweight, man. This is documented. Like, please take my, like, go Google this. Don't take my word for it. But like, you know, there was this dude who fasted for almost a full year. And of course, you know, he's drinking water and things. And I think he was being monitored by doctors.
He was being fed minerals and vitamins just to maintain like his microbiomes and everything. But he just shit his whatever he had out and then just slowly shrunk.
And just chewed up through his fat. And like, because if you think about it, that is what the human... There's a reason why
I think he had an egg to break his fast.
Did he?
I think that's what he had.
Interesting. But if you think about it, man, like that's the human body is built for that. Like there's a reason why our body is able to store fat like that. It's because of situations of, you know, like a lack of resources. Dude. And so it's like we need to have some stored energy to live off of, and that's a very healthy thing for a human being to like have and then go through. You know what I'm saying? That cycle of putting on a little bit of like healthy fat,
burning through it during the hard times.
Yeah, man, you live in tune with nature in that way. But because we've built up this like very cushy, comfy society, and there's this, you know, social indoctrination.
It's so easy to eat all the time. It's delicious. I love food. But let me just start with saying that I love food so much. I love eating food. I love all the different flavors and tastes and trying new, weird, exotic foods.
Yeah.
I love eating food.
But if you don't balance it.
If I don't balance it with a healthy lifestyle, then I feel like shit because of it.
Yeah.
So if I want to eat food all the time, then I just have to become really fit. And part of that was taking a break from food to reappraise my interaction with food in general.
Dude, like, the way my like everyday schedule is, and you know this, you know, I wake up and I don't have any calories like all day. 0 calories. I have, you know, caffeine, and I supplement where I want to with some B vitamins, vitamin D, maybe some Tonka Ali a few days a week. You know, and I do a lot of cardio and I do resistance training. And so by like the, you know, sort of mid to late afternoon when I have my one meal a day, bro, my body is in this state of just ready for the protein, ready for the calories. And so like I've found that I can enjoy a lot of the foods that I like and not gain weight, you know what I mean? And eat to the point of feeling very satiated and healthy and waking up the next day with energy to have my workout, but I'm not slowed down in the middle of the day by having that lunch or whatever.
The other day I woke up fairly early and I had one little orange. That was it. was like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And I just took that day and I went super hard. It was this very light, nutrient dense thing that my stomach just took and used for the entire day.
Yeah.
I didn't eat at the end of the day. I just went to sleep. I felt very satiated from that one. I'm not sure which is better, whether you take your fast starting right after an early breakfast or whether you end it at the end of the day.
You mean like break the fasting of the day?
Yeah, I'm not sure which one is the better way to do it.
I think that's highly personal. Just
I think it is too.
Yeah.
I think you have to test it out.
Yeah, and that's the thing about like any of this. If anyone's like thinking about getting into this themselves, do a lot of research and stuff. Is like I always say, but I think a great way to start is by intermittent fasting. So start off 12 hours a day. You don't eat. If you think about it, if you're an average person sleeping an average 8 hours a night, add 2 hours before you go to bed. You don't eat. 2 hours after you wake up, you don't eat. Boom, there's 12 hours.
Yep.
Easy. Like almost anybody can do that. I mean, there's certain people with like diabetes and it gets different. But you start there, and before you know it, you won't even be hungry during those hours. And then you can go 14 hours, then you can go 16, and then before you know it, you only really need one meal a day. And now this is where like you do need to do your research on hormones and different things, because from some of the things that I've seen, women in particular, they don't want to push. They can intermittent fast, but you know how I have a lot of success with this kind of one meal a day type thing.
Yep.
So it's like a lot of consistent like 20-hour fasts, that type of thing. They found that like women who stay on schedules like that can be detrimental to some of their hormones.
Interesting.
And balancing those. Whereas with men, they can have like very healthy hormone levels doing that. So sometimes, of course, if a woman's pregnant, that changes everything.
Yeah, that changes absolutely everything.
Yeah, so you don't want to be like dogmatic and stupid and follow anything with blind faith, especially something like not like starving yourself technically.
Yeah.
You want to do your research.
If you're large enough, I'd say it's worth the hormonal shifts.
Okay, so I want to know, dude, like when you were in those extended fasts, you haven't eaten in 84 hours, and and you feel a hunger spike coming, a hunger wave. Like what are some of the tools, different things you implemented? Did you use any supplements to kind of help you through that?
Okay, so pure essential amino acids, I do recommend adding those. I will say that they are disgusting. I'm not talking just branched chain amino acids. So you want to get, is it 9?
Yeah.
Or 10, technically.
Of the full broad range of essential amino acids, yeah.
Yeah. It's important to get those, but it's also more important specifically to get salts.
Mm-hmm.
Sodium is fine as just like I'm doing a few days. But if you're doing an extended one that's like a week, 2 weeks, something like that, because you can push this to 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, for the average person.
For the average person. If you're doing that, you want to get your potassium and your magnesium salts as well. Yeah. You really need to balance those out. If you don't, that causes heart problems, which is and a variety of other problems for your organs. So that's very important to maintain.
Yeah.
A 3 or 4 day fast, if you do that, you don't have to do it, but you should. You definitely should, at least the sodium. It helps with the brain fog really well.
Be careful not exercising too hard or sweating too much during that time too.
I've definitely done a fair bit of exercising doing that.
And you want to feel that out personally and how much you can push yourself. But there's definitely people that you get lightheaded a lot whenever you're fasting like that. One thing I want to say about your comment about essential amino acids, I do think that is a great tool in like the fasting tool belt. I think that's one of the best. But one thing that people need to keep in mind about the essential amino acids is that, yes, they are non-caloric. And so, like, depending on what the goals of your fast are, you may or may not be breaking your fast. If your goals are, like, for sort of the metabolic benefits and losing weight, definitely. And, like, getting lean muscle mass, maintaining that lean muscle mass while you lose weight, they're perfect for that, essential amino acids. But if you were going for some of the, like, cellular autophagy and things that they talk about there, this sort of cycling through the cells that happens because of the downregulation of mTOR. And the downregulation of mTOR while you're fasting, a big part of that, I think, comes from the lack of amino acids that you get. So if you then supplement with too many of these amino acids, or even just a pretty healthy amount, you can sort of disrupt that downregulation. I think it's downregulation of mTOR, which then disrupts like your cellular autophagy and sort of like healing that you get within that. So it's just something for people to keep in mind in terms of like how you want to fast it out. Some people out there are real religious about it. They think you can't have anything but water. Some people do a dry fast, dude. Have you heard of these people?
I'm not a fan of the dry fast. I have done full day dry fasts, and I don't think it's good for you.
You've done a full day dry fast? You've not told me about this.
Yeah, it was actually on accident.
Oh, you just for whatever reason didn't have water.
I just forgot about water all day.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't eating. I had planned not to eat for that day. But at the same time, I just completely forgot to drink water. And the next day, I woke up and I was like, man.
How did you feel?
I chugged from a faucet. Just like.
I mean, like, how did your body feel being that dehydrated? Like, was
it didn't feel any worse for the wear, but it definitely, like, when I peed, I was very clearly dehydrated.
Yeah. Well, and like, I don't know. I haven't dove enough into that research to say whether or not, like, I think there might be something there with the dry fasting, but there's people out there who, are gung-ho about it and swear by it, and it's like taking the whole fasting thing to another level for them or something.
Let's talk about fat cells, actually, because we were talking about the actual digestion of fat cells for the caloric production.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about that is your fat cells aren't actually, like, the cell isn't just this little power cube that your body uses. It is a storage unit, and within it are those little power cells. So what's going on is whenever
you're not losing the fat cells, it's shrinking down?
Yeah. Whenever a bigger person loses weight, what they're doing is they're literally just slowly burning the things inside those fat cells, and then you're burning more and more of those fat cells, and over time your body will start decaying the cells just to flush them out. They're no longer needed, so the body will flush them out.
I have heard one of the methods that your body uses to get rid of this final product of the fat cells that it releases or whatever is your breath. Did you know that?
No, I've never heard that.
And there's been like some studies showing this correlation between people who don't like have healthy breathing patterns and their ability to lose weight.
That's cool.
Isn't that fucking crazy, dude?
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting, like, as you learn more about the body. And what blows my mind is the amount that I was not taught in school, dude. You know what I mean, dude? Like, so
why
much...
did I have to learn 2,000 years of history, but not how to pay taxes?
Or to, like, take care of myself mentally, emotionally, physically?
How my body actually works.
Right. Why are we not told about DMT?
Why are we not told about LSD, DMT?
Well, I mean, we are told about these things, but we're not actually told about them. Like, it's not an honest conversation that's being had. And I don't want teachers out there being like, let's drop out, dude. Like, that doesn't, we don't need that. But like a real conversation.
I think structured education is good. I think the way we go about it is kind of poor.
Yeah.
I think teachers are underrated for the amount of labor and effort that they go through to train our kids.
Yep, because any of them to like be good teachers and stuff, and a lot of them aspire to be that, and I admire that. But to be that, man, it's not like I'm putting in a regular like clock in, clock out 40-hour week. It's like I'm going home, then grading papers, and also like spending my own money on supplies for this thing for us to have this party on Friday, and it's so much, dude. Like, and yeah, it's sad that they don't get paid more, dude. But like. Why do you think that is?
Oh, dude, it's because we have too many people trying to do too many things. And realistically...
You think it's because too many people are specializing in it?
I think it's because there's so many kids that we're actually struggling to maintain, like, a niche level of the population to take care of those kids.
Yeah.
Because we're essentially making a society where you have to work all the time.
Right.
Everybody has to work. Everything's more expensive, and everything's going to get more expensive the more people spend money on everything.
Yeah.
So, naturally, all the kids have to go to some kind of public or private school.
And it becomes this like kind of like giant daycare thing, dude. Because
it is.
I had a feeling when I was in like middle school, pretty early, dude, of just like knowing intuitively that like I truly didn't need to be there in terms of like it didn't feel like it was accelerating my learning and stuff. Like, you know, Shakespeare goes in one ear out the other. It felt like this glorified daycare. Like I had to be watched and taken care of by somebody, and so it was like, well, while we're watching all these kids, might as well, you know, try and do something positive. And
well, it stems from an old European military academy style of schooling.
Really,
yeah,
with all the bells and
all of the structured timing and like learning your country history, learning various just aspects that are going to improve your society. That stuff gets tacked on later. Originally, that stems from an old military styling, and I can't remember the name of that military group for the life of me, but it's European.
Yeah.
And then that expanded and became more and more of a public system at the behest of kings and such, and it slowly spread as time went on.
Interesting.
It's a military system.
You know what's really interesting to me, dude, is I've said that word a lot already on this podcast.
Yeah.
See how many I'm going to put an interesting counter on the screen.
Ding.
But, you know, my buddy Forrest, who's on the podcast, he went through the Waldorf school system in Canada.
Interesting.
Have you heard of the Waldorf schools?
Not.
It's completely different in terms of, like, what they prioritize through, like, certain, like, age groups is based on a lot of, like, psychological, like, research and stuff on, like, how to best foster those minds. Like, remember you recommending Prometheus Rising to me? Yeah, like that level of, like, you know, human optimization, like, development.
That's kind of beautiful. That's very cool.
And they really like encourage creativity and like creating things and real problem solving and like how to think, not what to think. You know what I mean? Like, which is the thing that people say all the time is like a big problem about the public education system. It's you're taught to like memorize and spit out these things and what exactly to think. You're not taught to be an actual like problem solver most of the time.
I don't know what it would take to actually improve the United States like system at large.
Yeah.
That's the sad part. There's not the funding for it.
Yeah.
There's just not. We all know that there's certain aspects of the government that are taking up way too much funding for themselves, and it's killing off a lot of the other things. But the United States government is so litigious. I think I'm using that word properly. It's so litigious, and it's so bound by red tape, and
getting anything done is...
It makes it very difficult for improving any aspect of it. I personally love the idea of a communal system, like just a tribal community, maybe about 170, 240 people.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Those type of ideas are beautiful until they're not, and it gets very ugly when you got like the guy in charge. And...
Listen, I promise my commune will not have Salem witch trials. It'll be totally cool.
Yeah. I mean, I bet, man. Our commune's gonna be great.
I don't understand why people keep fucking up the commune idea.
Right, dude. No one's gotten it right. Has anybody gotten that right?
Yeah, dude.
Can you Google it?
There are active communes right now of people who do that kind of free trade thing.
Okay, yeah, I have heard of this actually.
There's tons of people doing that in small clusters. They are often very dirty, but
what do you mean? Just like they live a dirty life?
It's squalorous, yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's squalorous, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if that's like where your path takes you. Like,
and
if you're
okay
happy
with that.
doing that, great. Like, go return to monkey and have fun. I'm awesome. I'm jealous of returning to monkey. I'm not into that. I like living in a cabin in the woods.
Yeah. Having that separation, I guess, somewhat, because people glorify that idea a lot of like living with nature and living in nature and
I go crazy
off the grid. And well, I mean, some people, you know, they do it and they find it very fulfilling, but there's also a lot of people who go down that path and quickly find out like, oh, this is not as glamorous as I thought it would be. You know, it's the same thing with like I've seen a good amount of videos of people talking about van life and being like the truth about van life. You know, which is kind of becoming clickbaity itself already, but and they'll show that real side of like, hey, it's not always like
the truth about van life.
Yeah, it's not always glorious. There's downsides. There's trade-offs.
That's why I'd love to have a house, and I'd also love to have a van. And that way I could go on those adventures, but I don't have to do it permanently. And I love the idea of having the freedom to just go and do that full time.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Just not that guy. Yeah.
All right, guys. So Josh has got to go. We got to wrap things up. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you guys like this. Like me and Josh just kind of hanging out, talking, chilling. I had fun. Did you have fun?
I love this. This is fun.
It was fun. Appreciate you guys watching. If you want to, check out my other stuff. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'll plug all that. Check out the description. I'll post some stuff there. Anyways,
check out the Pashmina.
Yeah. Anyways, peace out. Love y'all. Have a beautiful day. In the Matrix. Zoom. Oh. Peace.